I'm Elle Mejia, a landlord, investor, and retail leasing professional. I've completed high-level transactions for retailers in markets across 5 continents. On my way to building a multi-million-dollar real estate business, I'm curating advice from women who are killing it across the globe and sharing those conversations with you. You can absolutely run your business, run your household, and run your life without running yourself into the ground. Welcome to This Girl Sells Real Estate. Hello and welcome. You're tuned into This Girl Sells Real Estate, a podcast where we feature conversations with phenomenal women in real estate. And today we are talking to Julia Wang. Julia Wang is actually a realtor out of Houston, Texas. She is a top producing realtor, actually the #1 Houston realtor on social media. And if you follow her on social media, you'll get some pretty in-depth insight into her life as a top producing realtor, as a wife, a mom of 2 who loves the finer things in life. Her motto is to work hard to play harder, and every aspect of her life, from her thriving business to the Houston Hustle YouTube series to her Wangsta's Paradise brand, embodies just that. So we're so excited today to have the opportunity to have a conversation with Julia, who is quarantined in Houston along with the rest of the world. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So you're home now, because for a while, I think I saw on your Instagram, you and your family were actually quarantined somewhere extravagant and fabulous.
We were actually in the Bahamas when kind of everything broke out here in the States. And, we were debating on should we just stay in the Bahamas. So we were there for like 2 weeks. And then ultimately we decided to move to go to Pittsburgh, where my in-laws are at, to kind of help them out during this time. And then now we're back in Houston. So yeah, it feels good to be back in my hometown, the city that I love. And it's been good since we've been back.
And you've been telling me that as of recently, we were chatting just a little bit before we actually started recording, but you were telling me that it's slowly starting to ramp back up, that you're, as sanctions are being lifted, you're able to get back to business now as well in Texas.
Yeah. So I think, we're kind of, the beautiful thing about us human beings is that we adapt, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now we're kind of getting used to this new normal. And I think people are starting to realize, like, yeah, we're going to be safe about it, but we can't just be stuck in our house forever. Like, life still has to go on, and we need to find a way where it's safe to move on. So I've been out showing almost every day with my clients. I'm getting showings on my listing. And with Texas, I think we are a little bit more, and again, this is controversial, but we slowly are opening up. So in May 1st, I think most businesses are able to open up at 25% capacity. So we're one of the states that are kind of opening up first. So I think people are kind of more comfortable going out than they, probably in like New York, where it's still shut down, in California, which makes sense. But here, in Houston, we've done a really good job of containing it also. And again, I think we are prepared. So people, I do think, feel more comfortable going out right now.
And your team is, of course, being super safe about it. Like, I see that you guys are always geared up whenever you're on yourself and your clients when you're going to show properties.
Yeah, it's so funny how times have changed. So all of us, we wear masks. We provide gloves for our clients.
Do you think that'll change even after the lockdown? I have a feeling that a lot of these things that we're doing now to contain it, we're probably going to end up just making a normal part of our practice or our lives moving forward too.
I don't think we'll ever go back to the way it was. And if you look at Asia's a really good example. I'm Korean, so I go to Asia a lot. They've obviously had many outbreaks like SARS and, in the past. So it's very common to see people wearing masks, like on the street, and when it's not a crazy virus going around. And I think,
you know what, you're right, because I know even traveling through Singapore and traveling through South Korea, it is very common in the airports to see people traveling with masks. And this was, we're talking about just in the last few years, nothing to do with any type of global pandemic, just a regular part of how people travel.
Yeah. And I think back then, they looked at us like we were crazy. And then now in the US, I think, okay, like I get it now. So it's going to be interesting to see, how things change. But for right now, our team is being really, really safe. Make sure that even our clients are masked so that, both of us are to prevent, the spread as much as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about yourself and your team, because you've grown a dynamic real estate team. I've checked out your YouTube series. It's on the Houston Hustle that you have on your YouTube channel, and it just kind of shows the background and the ins and outs of how your team works day to day. But how did you get to where you are now? What's your personal story?
It's so crazy because my dad was actually a broker, a real estate broker, and he always told me, like, you need to get into real estate. Let's get into real estate together. And to me, I was like, no, I don't want to do real estate. Like, I never thought that I would be a realtor. But I graduated from college. I started, a corporate job in marketing, and I just was kind of just surviving, I guess. I wasn't really passionate about my job. I was kind of doing the day-to-day, right? Being my little cubicle, all of that. And then my husband and I, we just moved a lot. We just started buying up properties, moving there for a year, and then moving to another place. We're both very, we like change. So in the past, we've been together for 11 years. We've moved 10 times.
Oh, wow.
So, and then we're like, might as well just cut out the middle person, right? I decided to get my real estate license just for fun. Like, I had no idea it would become this,
And now it's basically like that. You're building an empire right now.
And I mean, from there, my first month, I was able to get into a brokerage that kind of taught me how to do. I started off apartment leasing, apartment locating.
Okay.
And my first month, I closed 20 leases, and
wow.
I was hooked, And I think just with my personality, I'm very like, I like things that move quickly, I like that adrenaline rush of closing deals and not slow playing anything. So I think with real estate, I really liked that aspect of it, because it was like, I close a deal, I get money. I close a deal, I get money, right? However many deals I close is how much money I get. And, that was something that I never really encountered in my life. So it was kind of, it really happened really fast. So from, in 2 years, I went from apartment locating to, selling $1 million homes. And that was because I got into a really good brokerage, and I had a really good mentor that was able to kind of help me with all of that.
And it seems like that energy is really important to you too. So the dynamic that you have with your team and with your brokerage seems like it's a really important part of your process and your business.
Oh yeah, it's definitely important to have like good energy around you. I've always thought that. And with my team members know we are all about helping each other out. Yes, there is competition, it's friendly competition, but there's no need to get nasty or steal anyone's client, because there's more than enough business for everyone, especially in Houston. Yeah.
But you found a really interesting balance that I think a lot of people don't correlate a lot. And I see it through some of your Instagram posts, being able to attain that level of financial and career success, but to stay very spiritually grounded as well. I know it's probably a big contributor to what your life is like just being able to maintain that happy, balanced life. But do you think that it's helped you in your business as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think whenever you are spiritually grounded, other people can see it, other people can sense that, and they're drawn to that. And, when it comes to real estate, I mean, it's such an emotional process that I feel like as a good agent, you really need to be centered. And in order to be centered, that's how you're going to help your clients. And I know, we say not only are we an agent, but we're a psychologist, right? Because we're constantly dealing with, raging emotions, whether, it's from a buyer or from a seller. And if we're not mentally healthy and spiritually grounded, like, how are we supposed to help other people? You can't fill someone else's cup if you don't have anything to give.
And that seems like a dynamic that you have in your relationship as well, because again, through your social media, you give people insight into your personal life. And you post a lot about your family and your partner. And it seems like that support system is something that you've really carefully curated in your life as well. How important has that been to you with your success?
Oh yeah, I mean, my husband, he's actually an entrepreneur himself, so he's
understands a lot of the crazy.
And we're both kind of entrepreneurs, and he really is the one that kind of pushed me to get into real estate. And he supports me every step of the way, and he's always giving me ideas. And I think it's very important for people to also see me as a mother. I'm not just a real estate agent, I'm also a mother, and I'm also a wife, and that's something that I take seriously. It is another job. And I think a lot of people, when they see that, they can also relate to me. And as, you know, a real estate agent, we're in sales. We're not only are we selling homes, but we're selling ourselves. So that's kind of why I want to do that, because I want them to see me as a person, not just a real estate agent.
I think that's, well, and then that, it resonates with your clients as well. So not even just in attracting people who want to be a member of Julia Wang's team, but attracting clients who want to be working with a real person as well. Is that something that you always had in you, that ability to connect with people on that level, or is that something that you really had to work on in order to build your business?
You know, I think that, you know, I'm a pretty compassionate person, and
well, I think we have you a little stuck there. Well, it looks like we've lost Julia for just the short little while, but I think it is so important, the energy that you have around you, and especially when you're starting to build up your real estate business, because just like she talked about her partner being an entrepreneur as well, it helps to have people around you that understand the level of crazy that goes into building a business for yourself, because there are some times where people go into business for themselves sometimes and think that they're going to be able to work less and do, you know, build your own hours and work less than you would at a regular 9 to 5. And especially when you're hitting the ground running in real estate, those first few months, those first few years, you're really grinding, and it's 10-hour days, sometimes 12-hour days, 14-hour days when you're doing listing presentations and showings in the morning. And it's important to have a support system around you that understands what it's going to take for you to reach the level of success that it is that you're trying to achieve. We're going to try and add Julia back to the screen here, and I think she's unfrozen now.
I'm in a high-rise, so yeah, sometimes my internet can be a little bit unstable, which is not
no worries. No worries. But you were talking about how important, well, we were talking about how important having that dynamic is around you, but do you find that ability to connect with people was something that you always had inside of yourself, or is that something that you really had to work on in your business?
You know, I think it's always something that I had, you know, every job that I had. So you know, I started working when I was 13 years old. So I started working at my aunt's bagel store. So from there, I was able to, you know, connect with people, obviously, right? And then from there, I started selling credit cards when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was actually—
You got into sales early.
I did. And you know what's funny? Like, I was so good at selling credit cards, and I was like 16 years old. I was salespeople.
You're like, no, I'm 16. Listen to me about your finances.
Why did I go into marketing? You know, I could have into sales, because that was my first corporate job, was in marketing. But I think, you know, and then in college, I was a waitress, and, you know, I was like a bartender. So I think when it comes to just working with people, like, you know, I do think I can read people pretty well, which is very good when it comes to real estate. It's very helpful, right? When it comes to real estate.
You can spot a bullshitter from like a mile away.
Oh, yeah. But I also just love people, like, and that's really the thing I love most about this job. Of course, I love seeing beautiful homes, and I love, you know, touring houses. But I think the most gratifying thing about being a realtor is my clients. You know, I meet people from all different walks of life, and every family that I've worked with, I mean, we eventually become very, very close. And I've been so blessed to have, you know, such amazing clients. And I just love that connection, you know, just really getting to know them and their family, and just really helping them with one of the biggest decisions that they will ever make in their life.
It is. It's likely the most expensive transaction they'll have in their life, and they're trusting you to guide them through it. So you're absolutely right that relationship is so important. It seemed to take on projects that give people more and more insight into who you are as a person, not just as a realtor, and not just in kind of these roles that people will put you in based on your profession. So I want to talk about some of the fun projects that you have going on right now, because I've seen your blog, Wang's Paradise, online. I love the YouTube channel where you get to talk about like the traveling that your family is doing, and just some of the stuff that you like, beauty routines and traveling with the family. And today was a really rough day and my kitchen's a real mess, like just regular everyday insight into who you are. And then the Houston hustle with the insight into your team. What makes you take on these projects? And do you have anything upcoming that we should be looking out for as well?
I don't know. I think people, ask me like, are you comfortable with making your life so public, right? And for a while, that was kind of my dilemma. But I think with me, if you meet me in person, I'm kind of an open book. And I think there's a lot of stuff that has happened in my life. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sober. And I've had my struggles. I've had my struggles with addiction and alcoholism, and that is why I choose to be an open book, because I feel like there is a lot of power when you can turn your struggles into your purpose. And regardless of whether it's helping my clients or even just helping random people on Instagram, like I do think by sharing your struggles and your story, there's a lot of power, and you can transform a lot of people by doing that. And I think people just don't realize that everyone has their own unique story and everyone has battled their own demons.
And there's a lot of power in sharing those stories as well. You actually celebrated your, I guess, your sober anniversary in a really special way just a few weeks ago. No, I saw on Instagram.
Well, my 3 year. So I actually shared my story for the first time, like my full sobriety story. But now, yeah, I've been sober from alcohol for like 3 years, from drugs. It's been a while, but I think when a lot of people see me, they're like, oh, they have this kind of misconception of who I am, especially when they see me selling these multi-million-dollar homes. And I want people to know, like I didn't always start off like this. I worked my way to become who I am, and I'm very vocal about it is possible to really live the life that you want. And I think anyone who has been able to do that, we are very passionate about helping others do that.
Yeah, and that's something that you pass along to your team as well, in helping motivate them to achieve the level of success that they want to achieve in this business too.
Yeah, I was just talking about this with the producer, Chris, who actually films the Houston Hustle episodes for us. But
those episodes are so fun. You guys have to go and check her out on her YouTube channel. It's so much fun.
And it's funny, we've got like a small cult following, people who just like are new to real estate or maybe been thinking about it, they like following that.
I wouldn't be surprised if people were following that weren't even into Selling Sunset just came out on the original Netflix series, and I think that they're coming out on May 22nd with another season, because people love watching about, like, real estate is interesting to a lot of people, even people that aren't in the game. That's why I'm surprised with as many people that are already involved in real estate. I'm surprised it's not everyone, because it's so interesting.
It is, and with Selling Sunset, $1 Million Listing, all of those, I always tell people those are the people that made it, those are the people who have it good. But, I don't think anything really, and that's why I wanted to do Houston Hustle, because I want to show like the struggles. The first 2 years as a real estate agent, it's hard. 90% of people don't make it. And I want to know that, because I think everyone thinks that it's so easy to become a realtor, and, and it's not. Only the best of the best will make it in this industry.
So what advice would you give to a woman who's just starting out in the real estate industry, whether it's a second career for her, whether she's jumping into the game right out of college, or whatever the situation might be? What advice would you give to someone who knows what their end goal is that they want to be, but aren't sure of the steps that they need to take to get there?
I think there are several things that you need to do. One, I think the biggest thing is you need to make sure that you have like a cushion, because I think a lot of people just go into real estate without preparing, because they think they're going to make money right away. And that's not the case. A lot of the time it takes 6 months to a year to get your first check.
So my goodness, I still remember. So I hit the ground running. I did residential real estate for about 5 minutes before I went back into the commercial sphere. And I hit the ground running, and I was really successful right off the bat. But I distinctly remember having probably close to about 70 grand in commissions that were coming, but not having money to put into my gas for showings today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There is kind of like a delay. So you have to be, prepared for that. And I always say, any agent that joins my team, I'm like, are you ready? Because when you dive into real estate, you need to go 100%. There is no half-assing it if you want to make it. With me, when I first started real estate, every Saturday and Sunday I was working from, 11 or 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m. doing open houses. And keep in mind, like this was when I had 2 kids. I had 2 kids under 2 at this time. And, that was time that I had to sacrifice away from my family in order to become successful. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. So I tell them, you have to go 100%. So with me, I don't even take part-time agents because there really is no such good thing as
no. A part-time agent is going to sell his mom's house this year and maybe his cousin's house in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think I love the energy that you bring to this industry, and I love the fact that you give people such an incredible amount of access into your life and into your personal life, not just your business life and not just the transactions that you're doing, but your personal life with your husband and with your kids and with yourself. And do you feel like that has helped you in any way in your career, or do you feel like that's hurt you sometimes?
I mean, it's of course definitely hurt me. I think because I remember when I first got into real estate, I thought I had to be a certain way, I had to act a certain way, and sometimes that person was not my true self. And I just got tired of kind of playing this act, right? And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be my self, and people either love it or hate it. Like I care a lot. I'm not always, like I don't always act like what you expect a luxury agent to act like, but that's just who I am. And people either really love that or really hate it. I'm sure I've lost potential clients before because they, don't like that. But, I've also gained, the kind of clients that I think are good for me. And what I teach my team is, when you're on social media, it's so boring and cutter when you're just like promoting these houses, right? I'm a real estate agent, and then you have like your headshot, right? Like that's just so vanilla and cookie cutter. And it's like there are so many agents out there. Like you need to set yourself apart. Like who are you as a person, right?
So see, that marketing background comes in handy, no?
It does. And it's like at the end of the day, they're gonna go with the real estate agent that they like the most. That they connect with the most. And I think with a lot of moms, they're like, oh, like I want to, work with Julia because, she has 2 kids and
she's a working mom. She's going to understand why I can't make it to this showing. She's going to respect my time so that when I show up, she knows that it was a sacrifice for me to show up. I can see that, definitely.
Yeah. And I met with a client earlier today, and I was telling her 50% of my clients are pregnant.
Are you kidding? Are you like manifesting energy right now? Is that what we should be expecting? I'm supposed to be asking you what's next for Julia Wang.
It's so hard. I mean, especially as like a working mom, sometimes we have to choose between our career and family, and it's kind of, it does suck. Because I do want to.
Oh, I think we've frozen again, just a little bit. But the conversation of a working mom, my goodness, and I don't know whether mom guilt goes away. I don't know whether mom guilt is even really dependent on what you do for a living. I think that mom guilt is something that people who have moms that even have part-time jobs experience. And it's just having to make those decisions to choose something that in essence you are doing for your family and doing for your children. But it does at times take you away from the home and take you away from your family, and making those sacrifices and knowing when to make those calls. But I'm not sure it's a debate that any of us have really gotten a handle of. It's certainly something that I'm still working on. Let's see if we can add her back to the stream here.
Sorry,
there we go.
My internet.
No worries, but yeah, having that balance. It's so difficult sometimes as a mom, and I think that a lot of women do appreciate working with other women who understand what that sacrifice is.
Yeah, and to be honest, I mean, that's still something I haven't figured out myself, because I am a workaholic, and that's really what I pride myself in. But at the same time, my kids, of course, are very important to me. And I'm like, I'm still trying to find that fine line.
Yeah. It looks like you found, you know what, that's what it is with social media. And I guess it's important to remind people of that too, is that sometimes even when you think someone has it all figured out, I don't think I've met a woman yet who says, oh yeah, no, I've got it. I've got it down pat. I know exactly what I'm doing.
I struggle all the time. And I mean, mom guilt is real, you
Oh
know?
yeah.
Like and especially my daughter now, she's 6 years old and she's like, why do you have to go to work? Like, why can't you just like stay at home and play? Right. And of course that breaks my heart as a mother, you know, but I've realized, especially with this whole like quarantine, like being at home, I've realized I'm happiest when I'm working. Like I'm just not one of those, you know, and I admire stay-at-home moms. Like I think that's amazing if you are able to do that, or if you're a teacher. But I know now that that's not something that I was built to do. And
you're your best version of yourself, which means that you are a better mom, you are a better wife when you are a happier person. So
exactly. Happy wife, happy life. My husband.
Exactly. Exactly. So what is next for Julia before I don't want to take too much of your time today. Where should we be looking for you? The Houston Hustle on the YouTube channel.
Houston Hustle. We are actually we took a brief hiatus because of everything that happened. But we're actually starting up, which should be really interesting because now we're going to show how selling real estate is in this new normal, right?
Okay.
And how we're going to navigate that. Actually kind of funny you say that because I've been actually speaking with several.
Oh no. I think we may have lost her just again. But I definitely want to hold out and make sure we bring her back so that we can hear who she's been talking to. She kind of left us on a cliffhanger there. But in the meantime, I'll let you know where you can find her. So her Instagram handle is actually just flashing across the bottom of your screen right now, Julia Wang _HTX. That's for Houston, Texas. Her YouTube channel is Wangsta's Paradise, WANGSTAS Paradise. And you'll be able to actually find that on her blog as well, wangstasparadise.com. I think we may have her back. And we definitely want to hear who you were. You left us on a cliffhanger, Julia. Who are you talking to?
So, you know, I've been actually I have connections and I've spoke with several different producers, but my goal this year is I'm going to get the Julia Wang team on TV. And I don't know how it's going to happen. So that is my goal, is to get on TV and hopefully we can share our story with a broader audience.
You know what I love about women in real estate? So I've done a few of these interviews now, and I've asked that same question, what's next for you? And nobody's telling me about projects that they already have on the go, projects that they're going to be announcing. Literally every single woman has answered that question with what they're putting out into the universe is going to happen next for them. I didn't intend it to be that kind of a question, but I love that it's turned into that kind of a question.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. I know, especially getting back into business, it's such a busy time for you, but I just think it's so important for women to hear the voices of other women literally across the globe who are killing it in real estate and doing exactly what it is that they want to do. So thank you so much for choosing to share your story and some of your best practices with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome that you're doing. I'm very all for women empowering women. Most of the people on my team are women or gay men. That's kind of how it happened. This is awesome, and I can't wait to see the final product.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia.
All right.
Be sure to follow Julia across all of her social media platforms. Check out her YouTube channel. And if you get a chance, please subscribe onto this podcast with whatever platform it is you're using to listen to it at. It's a little bit of time for you, but it does help us a lot in the long run. We'll be back next week with another episode of This Girl Sells Real Estate and another discussion with another phenomenal woman in real estate. Thanks so much for tuning in.